What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. I'm Love Coach Scott Katamas. This is the Wednesday night, May 8th edition of The Awakening World. And it's going to be a really beautiful show tonight because we're going to go deep into our hearts. We're going to have a quality conversation talking about some of the challenges that we face in life. And so it's wonderful to have each and every one of you with us. And because it's such an important topic, I'm really grateful that someone I have so much love and respect for decided to join us as my co-host, as my colleague, as my co-dialogue partner. And of course, I'm talking about Eden Amadora. So Eden, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
It's so good to be here with everyone. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah. And we are the Three Musketeers, and the third musketeer, of course, is our beloved Omashar. And
yes, all for one and one for all. And it is a joy to be here tonight. And this topic is particularly dear to my heart in that I've had to navigate a couple of situations in my life, which I can say I did brilliantly, but not to start with. And but in retrospect. And so thank you for bringing this topic. And I know that it's been brought up by a certain situation. However, the topic is that which creates war in the world, in the hearts of the people who don't yet realize that there's only one of us here talking to each other. So with that, I shall.
Well, not for long, because in a moment we're going to go to you for an opening song. But for those who don't know, the topic tonight is, the Buddha used to say, always take the middle path, meaning finding that balance in between the two polarities, the two poles. And my mentor, Marshall Rosenberg, always used to quote Rumi. In fact, this quote I'm about to give, was on the cover of Marshall's book, Nonviolent Communication. And the quote is, "Beyond the castle walls of right and wrong, there is a field of compassion. I shall like to meet you there." And that's really what tonight is all about. Let's all meet in that field of compassion outside the walls of right and wrong. Eden, anything you'd like to add as an opening, your thought about tonight?
I was aware of the opening song, and we all come from the same source, a powerful love force. We stand together, united, not divided. And it's kind of like Omashar already seeded into our conversation. When we recognize there are no others, when we really get that we're all awakening together in each other's mirror, we can be a lot kinder, a lot more compassionate. So I'm looking forward to diving deeper into this conversation around the heart and compassion tonight with everyone. And I
Beautiful.
also really want to hear from everyone here too. That's what's exciting about this more intimate call for me. It's the participation and your stories and your love and your questions. That feels like a big part of tonight's call.
Yeah. Yes. So please, everybody, fill up the chat box. Eden and I and Omar, all three of us will keep an eye on what's going on in the chat box, and do our best to bring forward comments, questions, and include all of you. And with that, let's get the show going the way that we love to start our shows, with an Omar song.
Sometimes it feels so hard to move along, say goodbye to yesterday. Take heart, my friends, there is a new song bringing us back to our homeland. When something troubles you, just call out my name. I am the one who loves you. Be still within. Hear what I say. Give me the chance to be with you. We are one heart, one mind, one soul, working together to heal. And there are no walls between us now. It's a celebration of union. So when you're feeling down and on your own, take a look around. I am in everything. Give me your burden, walk into my arms. I will lift you up, I will hold you. We are one heart, one mind, one soul, working together to heal. And there are no walls between us now. It's a celebration of union. We are the ones who hear the new voice calling us home to freedom. Fear not, my friends, this is a new place full of new joy and happiness. Yes, we are one heart, one mind, one soul, working together to heal. And there are no walls between us now.
Oh, that's all Twinkle, our beloved Omar Shah. What a perfect opening song. Absolutely perfect. Thank you, Omar Shah.
Pleasure.
I'm going to bring Eden up here. Here we go. Here's me, and here's Eden. Eden, what comes up for you when you're observing people that you love and care about lost in an attack and defend dynamic? What do you feel and what comes up for you?
This is such like the rubber hits the road moment, especially if the attack and defend dynamic seems to be aimed towards me personally. You know, when it's not coming right at me energetically, there seems to be a lot more ability to think there's a lot of upset going on over there. There's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of story being created, right? But when it's coming right at me, that's when, in all humility, I've found I need to dig super deep for my tools. And sometimes the tools are just down regulating my nervous system to be able to not put gasoline on that fire. And I'm not always perfect. I'm no master at this. Every once in a while, it's like part of me goes, oh, you're not breathing and you're feeling like your whole spine is contracting. Okay, let's take a deep breath. Let's ask for a pause. Let's take space, even, and reassure the person, especially if it's a very close beloved. I just need to take care of my body and myself right now. And I'm going to be available later once we calm down, once it's not in a heightened attack and defend moment. And I really want to name, Scott, that being your friend and getting to witness you and the choices you've been making lately, when someone's been attacking people you love and you personally, this isn't a very near and dear beloved friend or partner that's attacking you. So there's maybe a little bit more pause and ability to go, wow, that person really might have a very strong belief or a story or an agenda. That being said, I've seen you choosing the high road, choosing compassion, choosing to hold the whole thing with a larger pattern overview. And that's been really admirable.
Mm.
It's really given me a lot of like, wow, here's a person who walks their talk. They're a love coach, they're a relationship coach. And here they could be bitter, angry, swearing privately, talking badly about the other person. And instead, I have witnessed you choosing to have compassion for the being that is in that attack mode or defense mode and coming back to kind of take care of yourself and nurture yourself and just breathe through the waves of not only that person, but collective. We were talking before we started, kind of this like online mob mentality. So I haven't had to deal with that level of attack where it's more than just a single being and someone who may have a very personal relationship with me that's triggered because of whatever misunderstanding, attachment wounds. My job has been taking care of my body and my nervous system first so that I can come back with more compassion, like I'm witnessing you modeling, where I can come back with a little bit more curiosity, where I can empathize even with their experience, even if the words they're saying might not be true from my perception. I can honor their feelings. But it's really one of those, like, we can talk about spiritual awakening. We could talk about how we're all awakening here. This is where the rubber hits the road around our tools, where we're going to really see how much resourcefulness we have when there's that attack energy that feels unsafe. Because of course our bodies, our egos, they're not all bad. Their job is to keep the body alive, right? It's like the driver and the body, but the heart is really the greater determiner. But that ego will sure go into fight and flight pretty quick when we don't feel safe, when there's a lot of rage or danger in some way. It's very, very challenging for most humans not to have that knee-jerk reaction of defense.
Mm. You know, that knee-jerk reaction is biological. And I talk about this sometimes a lot in my coaching, but it's really worth reminding people. When all of us were conceived, in the first 24 hours after conception, the very first thing formed biologically is what becomes our reptile brain, the part of the back part of our brain, which is what is known as the reptile brain. And that part of us, the oldest part of us, has only one function, and that's to survive. We are built as human beings, as the animal bodies that we're in, we are built with the mechanism to survive. And so then we grow up, and what happens is the reptile brain is what's first formed, then the spinal column comes around that, and the body is built. Okay, here we are all now as adults, and we still have this reptile brain, and its job is whenever we perceive the possibility of attack. This is really interesting, not attack itself, the possibility of attack. The reptile brain sends a synapse through our being, and we choose fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And it's biological. So when we perceive that possibility of attack, we choose whatever we unconsciously think is our best means of defense, whether it's fighting back or running away. Now, in today's world, we don't necessarily physically have to run away from an animal trying to eat us. So usually flight is disassociation. We disassociate. If it's heavy duty flight, we disassociate through drugs, alcohol, too much time on the computer. There's a lot of distractions to help us with disassociation, but it's biological. Now that's where we've all, as the human species, have been living for so long, Eden. But what's beautiful is biologists are proving that as we go further along, as we evolve, more and more our frontal and temporal lobe is running the show. And I always love to tell the story, and I know you've heard me share it before, about the Dalai Lama, who allowed brain researchers to hook up electrodes to his brain and monitor his brain function. And they did testing for about an hour and a half, about 90 minutes. What they found was that at all times, no matter what stimulus they were giving him, he wasn't reacting from reptile brain. He was only reacting from up here. And towards the end, they really tested him. The lead researcher really had some chutzpah. He showed the Dalai Lama photographs of Chinese soldiers burning down a Tibetan temple. How do you feel? And meanwhile, they're tracking the synapses. Synapses are still firing up here. But the Dalai Lama, as he looked at these photographs, he wept. He wasn't stuffing his feelings even. He wept. But still, the synapses are firing up here. Then finally, the lead researcher says, I want to know, come on, how do you really feel when you know that the Chinese are raping Tibetan women, perhaps even murdering your people? How do you feel? What goes on for you? The Dalai Lama got silent, slowed down, but still up here and back here. And finally he said, it reminds me that I must pray equally for the Chinese as I do for my Tibetan people. And I've told that story 100 times and I still get tears, because that is the movement of our species. That is our opportunity. And so when that attack is happening, when it's your teenage son or your mother-in-law or your spouse or your ex-spouse or your boss, and they are coming at you and it hurts, we have to notice our reptile brain reaction, but not allow ourselves to get abducted by our reptile brain. And like you said, breathe before we respond, breathe. Come back to what the twin rays say, 12, they call it 12 o'clock. Come back to center. Come back to the frontal lobe and respond instead of react. Pray for the person that's hurting you. Seek to understand why they are saying what they're saying. Seek to understand.
Oh, so powerful, Scott. It brought tears to my eyes too. And it reminds me, in the mystery school work that I've been deeply immersed in for so many years, we have an entire day dedicated to compassion and really kind of dispelling myths about what people think compassion is. Because compassion is a very high vibratory state. It's not even empathy. It's not sympathy, and it's sure not pity. Compassion is being with suffering, like the Dalai Lama was able to be with the images. He could feel the suffering, but not to collapse into despair or meet the suffering where it is. And that's when that reptilian brain, when it contracts into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So compassion, we're at this time on the planet, there's so much suffering, right? We're being asked to choose to be with others who are hurting without going into judgment, fear, pity. And yeah, this is like when we talk about the violet ray being the highest octave of consciousness, like the frequency of clear discernment, presence, and unconditional love. And that is the path of mastery. Not that we're here to say we're, masters already. We're here in our humanity and our divinity, saying we're willing to be humble enough to learn, okay, that's where I fell out of compassion and I went in judgment, and it was like a tourniquet around my heart. And I felt like you were the other, and I needed to protect myself against you rather than feel you and stay with you in unconditional love, even if I don't agree with what you're saying, right? And our language is so powerful. Sometimes just saying like, that's not true, makes a person more incensed.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like gasoline on their fire, rather than saying, even though that doesn't feel like my experience, I see your feelings, and I feel what you're saying is very valid. It's very real to you. And I can feel you there. I feel you there.
What you're saying is so important. That's what we're hoping, is to share tools. Eden's a wise woman. That's why I wanted her to be my partner tonight to converse on this. And remember that we can understand someone without agreeing. Most of us have been trained that if we don't agree with someone, then we aren't willing to seek understanding. But mastery is to be able to drop into their world, and even if you don't agree with them, to see it from their eyes. And there's an analogy I use a lot in my coaching, which I'll share with everybody right now, which is really helpful. When you're with someone and they're just, whatever they're saying, it's different from your reality. It's different from your belief or what you've even seen or experienced. Perhaps they're even hallucinating. But imagine if you had a 5-year-old daughter and you hear her in the middle of the night screaming, and you go running into her bedroom and she's screaming, "There's a monster in the closet! There's a monster in the closet!" And of course, there's not a monster in the closet, but she really believes there is. You're not going to scream at her saying, "No, there's no such thing as monsters." No, you're going to hold her. You're going to hold her and say, "It's okay. It's okay." And then turn the light on. Yes, turn the light on. Can we turn the light on? Can we look in the closet? No, no, look in the closet. Okay, I got you. It's okay. I got you. And then finally, when she feels safe, it's like, okay, now you can look. You look and you go, oh, monster's gone. Right? That's how we would treat an innocent child. But you know what? When we're triggered, no matter whether you're 5 or 50, you are still in that same fear. You're in that hallucination. There's a monster in your closet. And we have to have compassion and not, like she said, not deny the reality. You don't have to agree there's a monster in the closet, but you can understand she's scared. She needs safety. She needs safety. And so we provide safety. We understand, what are they feeling? What are they needing? She's scared. She needs safety. He's frustrated. He needs to be understood. He's angry. He needs respect. This is the genius of Marshall Rosenberg, bringing it down to feelings and needs.
Your story about the monster in the closet reminded me of an experience I had a long time ago, crossing a big street in New York City and having a total stranger stop and scream in my face expletives, like, just like shaming and yelling at me as if it was someone that hated me, and recognizing this has nothing to do with me. But there's still that suffering and that pain and the energy of attack, right? And so to that being, something was really real in that moment to them, like the monster in the closet. Maybe they had spirits around them. Who knows why certain people are speaking to all sorts of beings that are invisible. I seem to be taking the brunt of it in that moment, suddenly, shockingly. And did it have anything to do with me? No. So in that case, because there wasn't an intimate attachment, there wasn't a bond, I could say that person's really suffering and just walk on without collapsing my frequency into, oh, the most horrible thing just happened to me. I can't believe it. It didn't really impact me. That being said, when it's public shaming, when it's personal attack from someone we care deeply about, that we want to see us as loving and kind and good and honest, or whatever it is that they're not seeing us, and we want them to understand, that's where we're going to feel it a lot more. So I know you've just gone through something like this, like a really big kind of like wallop of negative projections. And would you be willing to speak vulnerably and authentically about this? Because I know that your listeners love you, and we all want you to just be held right now, but we also want to learn from your wisdom. How are you keeping on in the middle of this intensity?
Thank you for asking. And I, by the way, some wonderful comments in the chat box. And so I was going to read the comments, but I'll respond to you first and then read some comments. So for anybody who doesn't know, about 2 weeks ago, a very strong article came out written by a woman who is a self-proclaimed guru hunter, and who has historically written negative stories about, as best as we can tell, about 25 spiritual teachers, including Byron Katie, Mooji, Abraham Hicks. So a lot of very beloved teachers she's gone after. And she has spent a lot of time putting together a story about the Twin Ray, my friends, the Twin Ray. And she never, by the way, made any attempt to call the Twin Ray, to talk to the Twin Ray, or to talk to anyone, or at least put in her article anything positive. It's a real hit piece. It's and makes them out to look like con artists and to not look good. It was shocking for me when I read it. But even more shocking was how many people were believing it. How many people were like immediately just assuming because it's in writing that somehow these things are true. And so I chose right away that night, I felt very inspired to make a video, sharing my direct experience of the Twin Ray, how I've experienced them. And, you know, I've known them for 4 years. I've lived in their home. I've seen them morning, noon, and night. And I just shared my experience because my direct experience, having spent a lot of time with them, is they are very well-intentioned. They are always consistently loving, compassionate. They're always the same. I mean, again, I've been with them early in the morning. I've been with them late at night. They're always the same. Now that's a pretty, for me, that's a big sign of a high level of evolution. When someone's not all over the place, you know, they're really nice in person, but then, you know, behind closed doors, they're yelling and screaming at people. I've never, ever once seen the Twin Ray, either of them, yell at somebody or be harsh with somebody. Never in 4 years, including, by the way, the last 2 weeks. And I've been on the phone with them or on Zoom with them almost every day. And they're still maintaining that level of consistent compassion and care and kindness. So anyway, I created a video, which I posted that night. And it got a lot of attention. It's gotten about 2,000 views now and a lot of comments, hundreds of comments. And the comments really ranged. And it was interesting to see. I want to say one of the ways I've gone through it, I've gotten so much love. So thank you. And a lot of the people in the Zoom room right now have sent me loving messages. And that really goes a long way. And thank you, Eden and Amashar. And those of you who have sent loving messages, I want you to know it's really meant a lot to me. Thank you. I really appreciate the middle range. And that's who I really want to acknowledge. A lot of people who are like, well, you know, I am wondering how much of this is true. What, you know, are these allegations true? And so I really appreciate the people that are like, okay, that this raises red flags, this raises questions, and want to know the answers. And so that's a very, for me, healthy and legitimate response. So I acknowledge that. And then there's the people that break my heart that automatically believe this is true or all of it's true and jump on a bandwagon. I always knew they were frauds. I always knew they were fake. Scott, you have no discernment. Your reputation is ruined now that you would go out in favor of promoting these people. And that hurt. That hurts. It hurts to some degree. Maybe 20% of the hurt is my ego and wanting to be loved and wanting everybody to like me and not wanting my reputation to be damaged. That's in there. But really, honestly, the majority of the hurt is what this show tonight is all about. When we don't have all the information, we've just read something and we jump on a mob mentality bandwagon of, oh yeah, that's true. Let's get them. Let's throw stones. Let's all pick up stones and start throwing stones because somebody else has started throwing stones. And oh, that is the great pain. And that's why I wanted to do this show tonight. And we've all done that. I'm sure that we all, most of us probably when we were younger, have fallen into a mob mentality. And that mob mentality can be political. Those of us who hate a particular political figure. You know, I watch Jimmy Kimmel at night and laugh, okay? So I can find that in myself. but I think it's one thing when it's a public person that really doesn't have any idea what I'm thinking versus people that we know and people in our own immediate community and world. And the last thing I want to say for now is it also makes me sad to people that are missing the point. And then what I thought about is, wow, my 4-year experience is these two people are pure love. What is it that someone would want to choose to see them as con artists instead of seeing them as who I know them to be, which is authentically, genuinely loving people with good intentions? And of course, they've made mistakes because they're human. They are human. And they're reviewing the mistakes that they've made. And they're going to publish their own, they're working on their own response, which will include ownership of mistakes that they've made and also clarification of the things in the article that were absolute fabrications and in some cases, untruths.
Mm.
So that's my
Yeah, I know you didn't mention that being that is known as the Guru Hunter also, after your loving, compassionate video, chose to go after you. Like she actually got
oh
very
yeah, there's
personal.
that. Then there's that. Yeah, of course I when I found out that was happening, for the first day, it was like, oh wow. Oh wow. And then again, just all the love that I've received and the people that really matter. And in my whole world of the people that I know that are friends, I've only had one person that I care about turn on me. Only one. And that hurt. And that's been a big one. It's like, oh, really? Really? After 30 years of knowing each other, really? But all of you have been we love you, Scott. It's all good. We love you. And so the quality, you find out who your friends are in a crisis. You find out who shows up. And I've gotten so much love and support. And so I'm okay. I'm okay. I really am.
Mm.
Because of
I
you.
really
Because of all of
witness your grace.
you.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
witnessing your grace that you're living with and choosing to feel the love and support and focus on the love and support. And,
Yeah.
it shows a lot about your consciousness that you're not going to dwell in fear or victimization, and you're going to focus on the love and supporting your friends to move through this time as gracefully as they can as well.
Thank
So let's
you.
just all give Scott a little buff here. He's like we love you, Scott.
Oh,
Thank
I'll
you
go to
for
gallery.
just showing.
Thank you, everybody. Oh,
Giving
thank
you
you.
beams. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm.
All right. I'm going to read some comments and bring Omoshar up here. So going kind of in reverse order, Don pointing out the importance of modeling empathy and compassion because it's contagious. Thank you, Susan, for the maximum grace. Thank you, Eleanor Joy. Thank you, Richard. George writes, I always feel great, uplifted in the twin ray presence, and even on the day of our online meetings, very empowered. Jerry, our wonderful, beloved wild monk, writes, a wise one has said, we can't have a testimony without a test. Let's all shine brightly. Absolutely. Diane brings up something really accurate. Massive insecurities within self could be triggered when one sees or recognizes their own lack or their own lack proficient in another. That's a good point, Diane. Thank you. Pat writes, let the judges go down their own road, sending them love. Absolutely, Pat. Amen. That is I resonate strongly with that. Yes. Let them go down their road and we bless them on the way. We don't curse them on the way down the road. earlier today, somebody sent me a beautiful poem of support. And one of the lines that stuck out is, be in the goodness while being discerning. So yeah, let them go down the road and we bless them on their way. Thank you, Susan S. Thank you, Diane. Thank you very much. Most of these are appreciations, and I'm just really thanking all the appreciations. Thank you so much. Ellie writes, the twin ray are pure love. It's easy to see and feel. So thank you. You know, Susan writes, regarding this woman, could she be crying out for help, compassion for her pain? Absolutely. What we do know is she was raised as a child in a cult where a lot of apparently horrible things happened. We've also learned she's a transgender from man to woman, and she has written about feeling excluded from the transgender community. So there is a lot of pain. And I had the fantasy of just talking to her one-on-one. That was actually one of my opening thoughts. And I spoke to two people who had made that attempt, other people that have had interactions with her, and their advice was that she's not very open-minded. She's not very open at this time to anything other than her belief system, her beliefs. And so that
It's really a shame. It's such a shame. I was thinking, oh, that would be an amazing breakthrough conversation with you, because you're just such a master at nonviolent communication. To even have that conversation would be amazing.
And you know, if she's watching or ever watches this, I am absolutely open to the conversation if there's truly an open heart. So here's the question. Are you willing? Anybody that's a hater or anybody who's on the side of anti, are you open to the possibility that these two people are actually wonderful human beings? Wonderful human beings. And if you're open to that possibility, let's have a conversation. And if you're not open to that possibility, let's not waste each other's time. Those are my thoughts. I see there's a lot of other comments that have come in. Do you want to pick and choose and read some of them, Eden? But you're muted. You're muted.
Thank you. I said I'd love to. Susan says, people who can't love and feel unloved can't always believe that love is real. So it feels like a farce to someone who can't feel it in themselves. And above that, Terry, you're very cute with your little emoji. There are 3 sides to every story. Bottom line, when the poop hits the fan, that's when you learn a lot about people and who are truly supportive, or at least not make things worse. Over time, the dust will settle and things will improve. She's just giving you lots of encouragement still, Scott. There's some people who have their hands up, some people who would love to speak tonight. Ellie, who I know has worked with a lot of shamanic healing and clearing of entities, is sharing her wisdom in the chat around people raised in a cult probably have lots of trauma and entities. It can be very complicated. Yes. Richard says she wants others to be open-minded, but for her, not the other way around. And just so much love is coming in. Karen says, we love you so much, Scott. We are with you. Wisdom again from Susan. People project onto others the darkness they believe inside themselves. Yeah, there's a metaphysical quote from the Mystery School that says, as viewed, so appears. We live in a world of reflection and projection. So navigating that, remembering, often you're all great wisdom teachers too. You know this, that we see what we believe. We see what we expect to see. It's like we're projecting the movie outside of us. Yeah, there's one more comment here. Oh yeah, Scott says he will bring people on and invites us when we speak to come from our hearts, our love, and our compassion, to really bring your wisdom, bring your medicine. And I'd like to encourage the art of quintessentializing instead of a lot of story, just like the nugget that you want to share, right? It's like the powerful piece that's medicine for the whole here. tonight.
Let's to model that. Let's start off with our beloved brother Omashar. And Omashar, what are your thoughts? What would you like to share? What would you like to bring in?
I have too many thoughts, and luckily some of the seeds that Eden is putting in here are leading me on, because I've had all through my life I've been now that I'm on the screen by myself, I'm blanking out. All through my life, I've been accused of things that I haven't committed, I haven't done. Always, 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 always. And ever since first school, and then then you get the whole schoolroom turning around to you and pointing their finger and going, "Aha! I know it's you because you've gone all red in your face, right?" And so it built up from there. And this precursor of early programming, being in a society which does not, let's say, love individuality. I spent many decades building up a community around the world, and of people who loved my music and loved what I espouse. And I spent over a decade in Hawaii as a music director for the Unity Church over there whilst traveling. Anyway, a situation happened. I mentioned it a few weeks ago on the show here, and I'm not going to go into the story because luckily Eden said, let's bring out the nugget for everybody, which is very true because the story is just a story. It's just a bloody story. And it gets so boring and it's repeated by pretty much everyone on the planet. But suffice it to say that I was accused of something that I didn't do, and I was beaten up by the police, and all sorts of nefarious, horrible things happened to me because of whatever projections that the police thought that was happening in the situation. And then I ended up on the front page of a newspaper with a black eye in a jumpsuit, an orange jumpsuit, chains and everything. It was not cool. The policeman, the police that took the photo were cool. We were having a laugh. They even said, "Oh, Misha, what are you doing?" I said, I'm a musician. And they, on the computer, they brought up one of my videos whilst they were booking me. It's like, this is an oxymoron right here. But anyway, that's levity to help me out of my depth there. And but I suddenly had on the online part of this newspaper, a slew of horrible, vitreous, nefarious comments saying, "Look at him. He looks like the guy that they, yes, they got him. Good one. He's horrible. He's a bastard. He, should lock him up." Because I looked the part. I mean, I did. It's pretty cool. It was very uncool, but anyway, this is the guy goes out, the person that goes out with the torch, and says, "Yeah, he's up there in Transylvania." And then all of the people with the pitchforks go, "Yeah, let's go and get him," and stone them. And so what happened from that was I suddenly found out who my fair weather friends were very quickly, very quickly. I had a community of hundreds of people within the island that I was on, and thousands of people around the world who were suddenly alerted of this situation with Omashar through a fundraising program before the person who put out the fundraising program even asked me what actually happened. And suddenly I had a network of suddenly virtually everybody that I'd ever communicated with through my music in the last 20 years of my life was told that Omashar was now being charged with felonies and was going through a problem. So can we help him? Hire a lawyer and all that. And a lot of people did help me. They gave me a huge amount of money, unbelievable. But the nugget out of this is it's taken me ages to extrapolate my loathing to all these people who blamed me for this thing that I could have no defense against. I was in jail, had no defense. Even the lawyer was told the untruths, and so he went down a defense road that led me into actually having to plead no contest, which I have found out later means that you just pleaded guilty. And so I had so much egg on my face. Not only was it personal, not only was it my community, but it was everybody who I'd built up the last 2-3 decades of my life around the world now backing off. How many of those were fair weather friends? Were hundreds, hundreds. Holy crap. And then, but the nux of this is, for me, I'm an ascending being, resurrecting my thought forms and everything as we walk along. And I know that I have to forgive every single person in this act of this story that I was a part of. And how do I, what part in me even cares that I have egg on my face? Who gives a SH1T? Who cares? Because I know the truth of my being. I know the truth of my awakening. I know why we're all gathered here on the show together, because we're awakening together and we're sharing tools, and hopefully not too much story. So Scott or somebody come on and guide me a bit here. And it's
your story was so compelling that we were like wanting to know more. I was like, I know I said, okay, keep it short and powerful, but we were all like, wow, we didn't know this about you, Omashar.
It gets even more negated because after I was locked up for a week, I was actually told that we have doubts about what's going on, so you can actually leave the jail now. And I was so scared of going out into the world. My reptile brain was so triggered at that time. I've been literally held down by police and injected with drugs and given all sorts of things, that I elected to go back into jail for 2 more weeks because I felt safe. And then at the end of that time, I was released, and then it went through the court system, and I was ameliorated of all the horrible charges. But this is more story. I'm just giving you a little bit more story just to get your attention.
Yeah, what I am aware of is the part of your story where you recognized, this is part of my hero's journey. Those trials and tribulations and the loss of all the support in my community actually allowed you to dig even deeper into your spiritual resourcefulness and to recognize, like, wow, this is part of my path of ascension, out of the part that wants to defend or protect or fight or who cares about my reputation, into this greater love and service that you chose to bring forward from this time.
It's amazing. And over the last, this was now 3.5 years ago. And over the last 2 years, I mean, every day I'm working with it, but my mind in an idle time will try and bring up one character out of the story and put blame on them. And I immediately go, okay, I forgive you, I love you, I let you go. And I've learned it's a fire, it's a huge fire, the biggest fire I've ever been in this life, maybe not in all my lives, but I think it actually is, because I had the tools to deal with it. It doesn't mean I wasn't dragged into the fire and got really burnt in a horrific way, but that which is true within me cannot be burnt. And I've learned to not give any attention to anything that is duality based in this world, which is a little challenging when we see so much horrific war going on out there and debasement of the human being. How can you view it without being empathically brought into it? Compassion, but not empathy. Because we're all here on the awakening world envisioning the new world which already exists. And every time speaking from my perspective, obviously, every time we put our thoughts towards the old world, we're pulling ourselves back into the old world. Every time we're thinking of the new world, we are raising ourselves up there. So it's up to us to let go of the past. But how do we honor the past and not get dragged into it, not let it?
I want to just illuminate something you said, because you're so full of wisdom and you're giving us so much pretty quickly now. But there's something you said you do that I really like to go back to, because I think it'll serve all of our viewers. You said that when one of the characters from the past comes back up in your consciousness, instead of letting yourself go down the blame, shame spiral, you consciously forgive them. And that right there is powerful. That's freedom. that choice right there to choose forgiveness instead of contract and hate or blame or feel victimized again, that is a path of mastery. So I just want to recognize that practice that you've been doing and amplify that as a possibility for all of us.
That's right.
That's powerful.
Yes, and Richard, yes, I hear about cutting cords, but it's almost even more than that, in that I am choosing to see the enlightened part of this person who I'm blaming. And also one last thing I'll say here is that the monkey mind, the ego mind, does not want to give up its seat and the seat that it thought that it had. And so they'll use one person and I'll forgive that person, then another week will go by and then someone else will come up, and if that doesn't catch my attention, they'll bring a child into my attention who I have more compassion and empathy for and say blame that person. And so it's a constant weeding.
Well, thank you for the deep work. It's an amazing story. Scott, I have this quote that at some point tonight I'd love to read because it's so powerful. It has to do with what Omashar just shared and what you and the Twin Ray are going through. Are you open to it now?
Yeah, perfect timing.
Okay. All right. This is by Jean Houston. And I just invite you to take it in. You can even close your eyes, put a hand on your heart. This is where we expand out of the duality pair of trust and betrayal. The key to unifying the duality of trust and betrayal, and thus redeeming all of our betrayals, like Omashar's doing, is forgiveness. Anyone can forgive a petty matter. But if you've been involved in a situation of deep trusting, of mutual flowing into one another, of rich coherence, in which you've shared your soul, and then you've been betrayed, forgiveness takes on a momentous evolutionary potency. Only forgiveness will allow you to return to the garden after the gaining of awareness that opens that gateway into fully conscious partnership with divine creation. Through genuine forgiveness, love is restored and the deeper evolutionary soul potential is revealed. So this is, it's a really long writing. I'm going to stop there because, we've all felt like we have been betrayed. And I bet everybody here can find some moment, even back to childhood, where we've been the betrayer, where we've been the one that needs to ask the forgiveness. We get to be all characters in this Hall of Mirrors curriculum at some point or another. So deep work in forgiveness.
I want to riff on that and say that I've come to believe that there can't, or there rarely can be authentic forgiveness until there's compassionate understanding. Otherwise, it's just, who can relate to you've been wronged by somebody, but you have a spiritual moment, you forget, you go into you say, I forgive you. And then you realize a day later, a week later, a year later, you really haven't forgiven them. Who's had that experience? I'm imagining most of us. Real forgiveness, and I've coached 1,000 couples now, and that's included dozens of situations where there's been extreme broken trust, where a couple come to me and he's had an affair and she's shocked and devastated and they have children. And is there any way we could save this marriage? And yes, they can. He has to understand her horror. He has to understand and feel her shock, her horror, her broken trust, not for the purpose of a guilt trip, but for the purpose of her being understood at the deepest level possible. And she needs to understand why he did it. Not to condone it, but to understand it. And when I've been able to successfully help a couple really drop into profound understanding, Dalai Lama level of understanding, that's when the healing takes place. And some couples have grown even closer, even after
Mm,
such a big hurt. So
wow.
forgiveness has to be preceded by mutual understanding. The other thing, too, that's a danger with forgiveness is it can fall into right wrong. You hurt me, you betrayed me, therefore let me see what I need to forgive you. And it can create that. And instead, it's like ideally meeting as two beings, again, meeting in that field outside the castle walls of right and wrong, and compassionate understanding of understanding the very real hurt, the very real
Mm,
consequence of the choice made.
yeah.
And
In
one,
this case, yeah, you're pointing to what it takes to restore intimacy, right? For people to stay connected, to stay in that closeness of the heart together, to return to that. And you're just such a gift to these couples that you're bridging so that they can return to the open heart. And I know in some cases, like with you and the author of this article, or with Omashar and those accusers of his false, accusations, that's not ever really going to be possible. That being said, there's still a level of releasing the apparent perpetrator, releasing the need to be seen as innocent or right or good by that being, and letting them go, right? So part of you eventually might forgive that being, even if there's not mutual deep understanding. But in an intimate relationship, I can so hear and see what you mean about for real forgiveness, which then births another level of intimacy and connection. There needs to be deep understanding.
absolutely. And again, discernment. We're not going to get along with everybody. We can't agree with everybody on everything. And so discernment is, and Yogananda said, discernment is the last lesson of master souls. So discernment is very important. A few people are asking to go deeper into the allegations. I'm not going to do that. I'm not interested in pointing people to the article or talking more about the allegations. Again, I want to take the high road. I am not here as a representative of the Chwenrei. I'm here as their friend. Okay. They will respond. Of course, they're working on a response. I spent a lot of time hearing their thoughts about response, sharing my thoughts about a response. A response is coming. And what they've wisely chosen to do is not react and engage in a back and forth with a woman who's not a genuine journalist, but who's a guru hunter. They're not going to engage. Instead, what they're doing is crafting a very well thought out, this is who we are. This is what we stand for. This is not who we are. And to really describe it and explain it in their way, in their words, and in a beautiful way. And I want to say they're in a very humble state right now. They're in a very, very humble and very vulnerable. And so you will hear from them. That's why tonight we're talking about the bigger picture. We're talking about the overall picture and what comes up.
There's some great comments I'd love to read, Scott, if you're open.
Yes, that's great.
Dana says Ho'oponopono is powerful. And I love that you brought that in, Dana, because the wisdom of the kahunas, I was told that in English, we make that mean, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And a kahuna said in our original Hawaiian language, we actually don't have the word forgive and sorry. For us, it's only good becoming greater. With understanding, we're not doomed to repeat. Similar to what Scott said, deep understanding, make it pono, talk it out, and to feel with that compassion the other person's experience. There's a wonderful story online. If you haven't heard the story of Dr. Lin, or Lin, I think it's Lin. He was a Hawaiian psychiatrist that healed an entire psych ward by a Ho'oponopono practice. Terry sending love to all who need it right now. Richard says, don't forget to forgive yourself too. Yes, it takes understanding and compassion. Grace says, I'd love more discussion about living with an open heart and also discernment and boundaries. So important in healthy relationships, right? So important. So yeah, there's people that still want to know more about the story. Others that say, I have no interest in delving into the negativity. Yes, Ho'oponopono means to make right more right. Yes, that's powerful to actually recognize that there's only good becoming greater or right becoming more right when we see, oh, we can learn from this. Oh, we can grow closer now together when we understand better what happened. Yeah.
There's a wonderful story that Michael Beckwith tells about a tribe in Africa. And after I tell the story, we're going to go to an Omar Shore song because it's about time for that. So when a couple are ready to have a child, the woman goes off into the forest, into the jungle, and she listens for a song. She listens to see if there's a being out there who wants to come into her womb, and she knows that that's real if she can hear a song, a clear song from the being, the song that represents the being's nature. And if she hears that song, she comes back and she teaches the song to her mate, her husband. And as they make love, they sing the song together. And if they conceive, then they know that they're in alignment with the song of the soul that wants to come through. And if she's pregnant, or if she's conceived, as she gets big, they teach the song to the tribe. And when the time comes for the birth of the child, the whole tribe gathers and sings the song as the being is born. Once the being is born, is a child. When the child does something that needs correction, if it's a small thing, the mother sings the song to the child to help the child remember who he or she really is. If it's a bigger thing, then the family sings the song. And if as an adult, that being commits a significant misstep, a sin, which is missing the mark, the entire tribe, there's no punishment. This tribe does not believe in punishment. The whole tribe gathers around the being and sings the song of its soul to remind the being who they truly are. And when the being passes away and dies, as they burn the body, the tribe sings the song one last time.
Powerful, Scott.
Let's all remember to do that. Let's not punish each other. Let's not hold each other in the prison of what you did that hurt me. Let's try to remember to see the divinity in the being. And we can still set boundaries. That's another talk. We'll talk about that, talk about boundaries later. But any last thoughts before we go to Omar Shore for his song?
My heart just feels like just receiving your transmission. It's so beautiful. I know this story has come through Michael Beckwith, but it's coming through you in such an elegant way tonight. And
Thank you.
I think it brought tears to our eyes. Thank you so much for that reminder to sing each other's soul songs and see each other as souls.
Thank you, Eden. Let's go to Omar Shore.
my world is falling into the dust that gave it birth. Empty feelings find me deep in contemplation, waiting for the rise of Mother Earth. And we all know what we've come here for, and we all feel that our hearts are true, and together we will make it home, and we'll trust to love once more. La, 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 la. Walking through these fields of fear that before my attention. I don't live here anymore. I surrender to the flow that gives me new direction. All that's left to do is trust and fly. And we all know what we've come here for, and we all feel that our hearts are true, and together we will make it home, and we'll trust to love once more. Y sabemos a lo que vinimos, es sincero nuestro corazón. Lograremos ir a casa juntos, confiando otra vez en el amor.
Let's all go to gallery view and twinkle our beloved brother. Thank you so much, Omar Shar. Thank you. Mm. Ah,
Where are you, Scott? You want to come in too?
I do. I was looking for myself.
That's happened to me
Sometimes
before
get lost
too.
in looking at all the people. Isn't it beautiful to see everyone dancing? And I just so appreciate our beautiful Global Peace Tribe. I think let's call on a few people that wanted to express themselves. And I'm going to start with Margie, because she has her hand up. Hi, Margie.
Hi, oh, there we go. Well, this is a topic that I've had a lot of exposure to. Scott, as you know, I represented the teachings of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi for many decades. And I personally, went through the experience of being attacked when I would give lectures, and also had the opportunity to witness him and how he handled it, and what he, the wisdom that he gave us over the years. First of all, that truth message that somebody speaks out, like the Twin Ray do, and like Maharishi did, it's a very coherent frequency. And he would say that when we speak the truth, then the other more negative frequencies, they almost come up because they're in the process of being purified out. And so we don't need to focus attention on the negativity that's coming up because it's just working its way out of the sphere, of humanity. It's a cleansing process for the whole world. There were times when, it was in the mid 70s, I was only about 21, and I would give lectures on TM in different libraries. And at that time, there was a big movement with the Christian fundamentalists and extremists to attack meditation groups. And so people would come to my lecture and heckle me and try to keep me from saying what I was saying. They would say that meditation was the work of the devil. And somehow, even at that young age, I had this intuitive feeling, don't even try to address what they were saying. And what I did was I let them speak for a minute, and then the audience around me, they would come to my support because they didn't come to hear the heckler. They came to hear the truth speaker. And so they were the ones that would kick him out. So it was an interesting phenomenon that, when negativity rises up, people recognize that that is not the truth, and they will support you to speak the truth even more. There were times when I saw Maharishi being interviewed on TV, in person and on the media. Of course, there wasn't the internet back then. But he would use that opportunity to not necessarily answer their questions, like, why are you doing this way? Or, what was the truth of what happened with the Beatles, or, whatever the subject was. He would just use his platform as an opportunity to speak even more truth. So again, not to address the negative, reasoning that's going on, but to just know that if you want to get rid of darkness, you're in a dark room, you just flip on the light switch, and that's what gets rid of the darkness. You don't have to chase darkness away. I would say with the Twin Ray that they should just use it as a platform to just keep speaking their message and just, enjoy it. And, one last thing, Maharishi would say, any publicity is good publicity. And that it just brings out their teachings and their chance to, to express their side of it even more. And it also gave him the opportunity to be more bold. So we know that if the darkness is being revved up and chased out, just be even more bold to speak the truth. Anyway, that's my contribution. It's a subject that is, I had to live through it, and so I just wanted to say something about it.
Thank you, Margie. I really appreciate that. And it is a very similar situation. So it's very, very relevant what you've been sharing. Thank you so much. Katrina just wrote, what a great share. So yes, it is. Thank you, Margie. Eden, is there anything you'd like to reflect back while we have Margie?
Thanks. Yeah, thank you, Margie, for that deep, calm voice of wisdom and the light, be the light in the darkness. And it reminds me when I started working with my teacher, and she spoke of empty presence will bring up everything in the way of unconditional love. So when people sometimes sit in circles of open-eyed meditation, like we do in the Divine Feminine practice, they'll feel a lot of fear. They'll feel a lot of shame. They'll feel the things that are actually getting kind of alchemized and cooked up in the system to be purified into the open heart. And none of us are immune from that conditioning living in this world. It's like we have our epigenetic imprints, we have our early childhood traumas and programming. And so love, like Maharishi's, love, like, this unconditional empty presence will bring anything that's denser up to the surface to purify it.
Thank you. You know, I'm going to paraphrase, but Einstein has a lot of quotes that go along the lines of the true measure of intelligence is how quickly we can change our beliefs. And again, that's an important thing. When, just ask all of us, when we read something or we hear something about another person or a situation, noticing, what am I choosing to believe? What am I collecting evidence for? And am I only collecting evidence to support my existing beliefs? And these are hard questions, but really important questions if we want to really expand our consciousness, if we want to continue to grow and to evolve, right? And I think we all, you know, you see that a child hasn't formed all their beliefs. A child is like in wonder because everything and anything is possible. And then we see the opposite of that, someone who becomes very narrow-minded and this is the way it is, and they're not willing to see anything else. And people like that aren't very much fun, that's for sure. And sometimes they're dangerous. And a fanatic is dangerous because they only see evil, right? I mean, probably the most extreme example is a suicide bomber who's willing to kill himself and other people because he's so fanatical in his belief that the people he's killing are evil, innocent civilians. So, but we all can do that sometimes. We can all put on these blinders of only collecting evidence to support our own belief. And so again, let's all just notice, where do we fall into that trap?
What I'm also aware of is how much certain people benefit from polarity consciousness, from creating division. Certain groups, certain people actually consciously create like very kind of extreme conversations of division for profit, for a reason, politically. I mean, we're such good-hearted, innocent beings inside, we humans. I think sometimes of our star kindred, like the elder, if you believe there's life off of this beautiful little planet, that they're looking at us going, you know, awaken and see each other as, you know, unified soul, the human family. But we're still caught very quickly in those polarizations, whether it was the pandemic, COVID, mask, not mask, vax, not vax. Then there's big issues that, you know, families and good friends feel so polarized around that you're starting to wonder, like, is this part of a greater, almost like alchemical crucible that I talked to you about, this principle that's necessary when the lead gets turned into gold. It's called solve ecoagula. And it's where there's first this kind of separation of a form so that it can reform at a higher, more beautiful crystalline octave of consciousness. You know, this is inner alchemy that we're going through in our awakening world. And the key, the healing balm is, even while things seem to be falling apart or separating and we're losing friends, or our family won't invite us over for Thanksgiving or whatever it is, that we can stay in compassion and witness and watch as things change again and come back together again. You know, hopefully in different formations sometimes, different communities sometimes, different beloveds sometimes, but we keep our hearts open for that reformation. So we have some great shares. I don't know if you're noticing all the good shares popping in.
I'll share Katrina's, and then maybe you can share Dina and Grace's. So Katrina, our dear friend, who was on the show just last week, I believe it was, or 2 weeks ago, shares about authentic relating, and she's put into the chat box the link, but for everybody watching on Facebook, I'm going to go to it. There's a wonderful training called Authentic Relating Training, and there are 5 practices. So we'll scroll through quickly. The 5 practices are: the first one, welcome everything. The second practice of quality authentic relating, assume nothing. There's a quote from Abraham Lincoln: "I don't like that man, so I must get to know him better." Thank you, Abe. Third practice, reveal your experience. The more personal and introspective a work of art is, the more universal it becomes. Beautiful. The fourth practice, own your experience. Just really own it. This is my experience. It may not be true for anybody else. And the fifth and final practice is to honor self and honor the other. So thank you, Katrina. Those are beautiful practices and beautiful tools, beautiful reminders for all of us. Eden, what do you want to read and share?
Yes, Carol's very wise brief share, conditional versus unconditional, right? We're living in a conditional world, but we can bring more unconditional love to it. Grace Denise says that was wonderful. Oh, to Margie, seeing as the opportunity to speak truth more clearly, to shine light and see the darkness disappear, what Maharishi would choose time and time again. Instead of kind of going into the gossip frequency, into the dense negative, whatever projection frequency, Maharishi chose to use the platform, the attention, to keep transmitting something of value in the light. Dana says spiritual light seems to naturally, and even without specific intention, bring to light the darkness, unhealed aspects of others. Then if they're not ready or willing to grow and evolve, they may turn against the source of the light for no apparent linear reason. This has happened to me a number of times in soul connections where I had a lot of love and care for the person, and it was very hurtful for me, even though I've tried to understand it from this perspective. I think that we've been there with you, Dana. I have a personal story about that one too. Yes, there's some comments about lack of skills in the general public with discernment, possibly, or the desire to take an action or stance to be seen. I know there's a lot of desktop warriors typing out their angry rants and judgments, but they're not in the room with the person. They're not actually feeling the other's humanity, and they're hiding behind their computer, right? Everybody can shame and blame from behind their digital device, but really we're rising above that kind of low frequency. Susan says inclusion and exclusion are so important. When a person feels excluded, they strike out. And she's mentioning that a lot of school shootings happen from children who are really suffering, really, really in some traumatized, lonely state. Ellie says that's a lot of what road rage is also about. Oh yeah, I think that everyone here can relate to being on the receiving side of some pretty intense energy at some point or another in their lives. And I know that we've received a lot of gifts so far, a lot of tools so far. I have a personal story. I wasn't sure if I was going to tell this one, but one of the most challenging things I faced probably, oh wow, this was about 10 years ago, was being in a deep love story at that time with a musician. And we were really working hard. We were doing our spiritual practice together. And sometimes we come with so much trauma. And this particular being, he was a lot more verbally abusive, we'll say, like name calling, attacking energy than my nervous system could handle when the trauma would come up. And in the end, I needed to say, this is complete. This was my truth. And I know others have been there. You can love someone, you can be in love with someone. And if it's a toxic codependent relationship and you start to awaken to it and see it, you can only really change yourself sometimes if the other is not willing to do the work. So in that case, I was the one that I was like, I'm needing to call quits. And that being did not want me to end the relationship. Several months later, because my daughter was also connected to him and his family and his older sister, my daughter spent time with his older sister and told me, oh, he's written a new album. And I was happy for him. I was like, oh, he got his muse back, his voice back, his inspiration. Because when we were together, he had said, I can't sing anymore. I've lost my voice. You sing, we'll co-write. Anyway, long story short, the entire album was about me being a demoness. So I was publicly slandered and shamed, and about 10 songs on this album. And I really sat with it for a moment, like, how can a person that I loved so much choose to go so black and white, so polarized into all bad and project that on me? And then I really came to the place where I saw him as stuck in pain. He got stuck. And it felt, I guess, cathartic to be in that frequency of blame. And in that moment, I chose to release it completely, to not fight against it, not contest it being put out publicly. And it kind of just disappeared out of my field. Just, it's like gone. The being disappeared. Any care about the music or who would hear it or know it was about me disappeared. And that's kind of like Omishar's story. It's like you sometimes think about the person and then in that moment, just forgive. So we've all been there in some way or another.
Thank you for sharing your story. And of course, it wasn't about you because you're not a demoness. It was about his projection. Yeah. And as you were telling the story, it reminded me of something I'd like to share. One of my favorite teachings from my mentor, Marshall Rosenberg, the founder of Nonviolent Communication. And Marshall said, if you really want to create peace in the world, we are the Global Peace Tribe. So I believe that everyone watching is someone who wants to create peace in the world. Start with our own relationships and make a commitment to never make an enemy image out of another human being. And I'm going to go a little bit into the teaching of this. It'll take 2 or 3 minutes, maybe. You know, when soldiers are training, getting ready to go to war, one of the first things that is done is to dehumanize the enemy. You know, my grandfather, when he fought in World War II, he wasn't trained to kill Hans, Jürgen, or Peter. He was trained to kill the evil Nazis. Or if he had been sent to Japan, it would have been the dirty Japs. In our contemporary time, the training for people who are flying drones and dropping bombs are not taught, you know, you're going to be dropping a bomb on a family and his name is Abdul and Rasuli and Mohammed. No, they're the evil terrorists. But we dehumanize, so we all can see the dehumanization there. It's obvious. But we all dehumanize when we assign an enemy image to another person. When we look at somebody and we don't see John, we see that asshole. We don't see Carol, we see that bitch. And that's how we see them. That's how we express ourselves about them. That's how we think about them. And sometimes we do that about ourselves. Oh my God, I'm such an idiot. And so noticing when we use dehumanizing terms in our language or in our thinking or in our expression of another, if we want to create peace in the world, we commit to removing that. We commit to noticing when we do them, when we think that way, or certainly before we express it. Now, most of the time, when we have a thought like that about someone, it's because that person's made a choice or they have a behavior that perhaps has hurtful consequences on us. So this is again where discernment comes in. Never make the being bad. Don't assign an enemy image to the being, but instead recognize what's the choice or the behavior that's having a consequence on myself or on someone else. And to really make that distinction, the being is always divinity. The being is always God, life, experiencing itself fully as John, as Carol, as Scott, as Eden, as the twin ray, as the writer of the article. That's always God experiencing itself as the being. But we can acknowledge that when you made this choice, when you wrote that article, it had the consequence of spreading things that are not true, as an example. So let's just try and, as Global Peace Tribe members, and thank you, Marshall Rosenberg, up in heaven, my great, beautiful mentor. Let's remember Marshall's teaching. Yeah. And what comes up for you as you hear that, Eden?
I love that expression, do not make an enemy image out of anyone. That's powerful to remember. Even as our fight and flight mechanism might be going off, it's like to remember that it's not real, it's that projection. And if we can come back to the heart, it's like a veil lifts and there's our friend again. There's our fellow human again, not that demon or that bad guy. Scott, something miraculous has happened tonight during this call that I think it's really important that I read this share in the chat. Andrew says, thank you, Scott, for this discussion. I'm in gratitude of this authentic conversation. I was very reactive and attacked a longtime friend of mine and turned against them, killing our friendship. But after listening to you, I was able to write a heartfelt letter to them, ending with Ho'oponopono. I really gave my all and explained where I was coming from and what upset me. And I explained how I felt she must be feeling from what she told me that had made me very reactive. And he goes on to say to Dana, who gave him a heart, I valued my friendship with this person and knew them for 20 years or so. And I was so mean to them. But that's not true of the real me. And I felt horrible. I totally reversed this energy in an email I wrote during this call.
Wow. Oh, thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Wow. That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
It brings tears to my eyes. It's so important. This medicine we're sharing together, all of us, and so important.
Mhm. I'm kind of really blown away by that. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. I'll go to some comments. And if anybody else wants to speak, you can raise your hand or let us know in the comment. Susan just says the power of love. Absolutely. And Richard writes, what a great Zoom tonight. Thank you. This conversation is the most important one I've heard in so long from Andrew. Jerry, our wild monk, keep the actor and the acting separate. I love that. That's great. Diane, I so agree, Scott. We can do more harm to ourselves than what anyone else can do. So thank you, Global Peace Tribers. I see Ian raising his hand. So Ian, I'm going to put the spotlight on you and unmute you. Hi, Ian.
Hello. This has been a wonderfully enlightening show tonight, and I thank you deeply. I'd like to comment on my relationship with my father. My father was in the First World War, and he fortunately survived. And he was a very strict man who liked a great deal of order around him, and was made sure that that happened. And I, very early in my life, did not like my father, and I didn't want to be like him. And I can remember he walked with very splayed feet. I consciously walked with my feet straight ahead at the age of 5 or so. And I held this feeling up into my 30s, and I almost didn't go to his funeral when he passed because I was still so angry with him. And then one day, I'm not sure when exactly or how exactly, but I realized that he had been the best father he knew how to be. And I totally forgave him. And now I feel great love for my father, and it's just a blessing that has come into my life. A blessing.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you so much. Thank you. Mm.
Thank you for
Powerful.
letting me share it.
And one thing that I like about that story, there's many things I like, but I want to riff on you came to that conclusion even after he passed away, right?
Yes.
So we can still do the work, even when someone leaves our life, either because they're no longer in our physical sphere or they're no longer even in their body. We can still do the work of repair and resolution. So that's
Yeah.
an important
In
thing.
my meditation now, I send him love.
Mhm.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you.
I feel from Ian's story once again how forgiveness isn't for the other person that we forgive. It's for ourselves. It's for our wholeness, our health, our
Yes.
radiance, our presence. And when we let go of that enemy image, as Scott said, it's like this big release of a power block. Like Ian's energy is like, oh, I feel so much peace and so much joy now.
Yeah.
And that's such medicine.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to share? It's best if you click the little raise your hand. If you click reactions, you can see where right next to it says raise hand. So, and there are some wonderful comments. Do you want to read the comments, Eden?
And Dana is saying that her mentor, Doc Childre, would always say everyone is doing the best they can from their awareness level. Like really letting people off the hook. And I had this amazing book come into my life called The Presence Process, where the author, Michael Brown, he's helping us kind of integrate our childhood wounding to be truly heart-centered and present. And he said, imagine everyone that triggers you is just this messenger that's bringing you exactly what you need, the setup instead of the upset, to integrate more of the charge in your body. Don't shoot the messenger, bless them and release them, and be with the feelings and integrate the charge. So her share reminded me of that. Yeah, Susan is thanking Ian and saying, I see the ways this apparent attack is truly bringing reflection and blessing. Grace Denise says the timing of this call is extraordinary. I'm so grateful. This has been deeply enriching, affirming, healing, and helpful. And Terry says love and compassion is always the best answer. There's a lot more coming in too. People that have also done the forgiveness work after a family member passed. Susan had the same experience. She did the work later, had a powerful healing at his grave, forgiveness at the grave. Reverend Jeffrey, isn't it amazing? It's not amazing. These events have helped us all dive deeper into the source of love that is our true source of the divine. Oh, and down below, so many unexpected gifts. People really resonating with Ian's share of forgiveness.
Mhm.
Yeah, beautiful, heartfelt, deep conversation. Thank you all. An incredible show tonight.
I see Andrew Kane, who had that experience, has raised his hand. So, Andrew, I'm going to go ahead and add you to the spotlight here, and you can share a little bit.
I'm just like blown away because
Mm, mm.
Sorry. Um, no, I just no, when I was prepping for my Earth Day event, which happened on the 22nd, 21st, I was so very busy, so very busy. I didn't have a moment for myself. I'm the only one organizing this event, and there was so much to do. And my friend, for like 20 or so years, was in the hospital for psychological breakdown. She had an emotional breakdown, and I couldn't visit her because I was so busy. I didn't have a moment. And when I spoke to her a few days ago, she was upset because I didn't visit her. And instead of having compassion, understanding, and empathy for her, it was the reverse. And I don't understand why it happened, but sometimes I get triggered and I get reactive, and it's not the true me. I'm a peacemaker. I want peace on earth. That's all I want. I want peace. Yet there's parts of me that are not always peaceful because I get reactive and triggered and I don't know how to handle it. And I know about the Ho'oponopono, and I know about the, what is it called? The communication that you, nonviolent communication.
Yes.
I actually met her at a nonviolent communication course in New York City. That's how I met her.
Wow.
Yet I killed the relationship by texting her, saying mean things to her. And for the past number of days, I've been thinking about it and how, like, you know, I know a lot of people, but I don't talk to a lot of people on the phone. And she's one of the people I talk to because she has a lot of medical issues and I'm always concerned about her. Yet she was upset I didn't visit her in the hospital. And I explained to her that I was too busy. And this call, I'm not always on your calls. I have to be honest with you. I love your Awakening World. I want to be on every single one, but I just happened to fall onto this one. And when I started hearing the conversation, I totally got into a space of like, holy shit, whoa. And I just like somehow got so present to her and wanting to write the email. And as you were having this conversation, I literally was writing the email. And I wrote it and I sent it. And then I shared. And then I just felt I needed to share this on live with you.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you for your vulnerability, your humility, and a reminder of the motto of my company, Love Coach Academy: how perfectly human. How perfectly human that even though we so want to always be in a state of love, sometimes we get abducted by our reptile brain. As Eden said, when somebody's coming at us, when we're hurt. And actually, it's a good segue. I want to read something that Dorina sent. I'm going to put it up so people can read it with me. This is from Dorina in Ecuador. Hurt people hurt others, but luckily, healed people heal others. Safe people shelter others. Free spirits free others. Enlightened people illuminate others. And love always wins. So shine your light of love on all who may cross your path in life, because what you do matters. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dorina, for that.
Yeah, and thank you, Andrew, for your vulnerability and your courage to come on and share more of the story. And just, it's good medicine in that kind of powerful, like we are doing the work together way, and it's happening now.
Thank you, Eden.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Scott.
I think we're winding down. We're close to 8 o'clock. So I know we didn't read all the comments, but I'm really grateful for all of them. And I'm going to go through and read them and send little hearts while we conclude with an Om Shor song. But before we conclude, Eden, is there anything you'd like to let the audience know about that you're up to, that you're doing?
Well, there's an opportunity that happened today, but it's not too late. I had a wonderful free live spiritual masterclass called Awaken Your Inner Oracle. And it had everything to do with awakening the heart and our collective awakening. And this is a masterclass that's walking us through ways to open our channel for our direct knowing. And I know a lot of us in the awakening world, we're very sensitive beings. We have a lot of intuitive hits. We know things without needing to be told. We just sense and feel. And some of us feel somewhat lonely in our magic and our sensitivity. And others are just wanting to be even more fortified with tools. So this is a free live spiritual masterclass. Scott, I'm going to tell you the link. Maybe you could write it in the chat. It's the first part is my website. It's EdenAmadora.com, and then backslash. Okay, so then we do that again, and then we go backslash awaken dash your dash inner dash oracle, the name of the live event. And what will happen when you click on it is that you'll be given the replay. So you'll get all the keys, all the mystery school principles of these 6 powerful gateways we went through. And there it is. So even though you won't be there live, you're going to feel the energy of the call. And as soon as you claim your seat in the circle by giving your email, you'll be sent the replay of this really fun call that I did with my beloved soul sister, Charlotte Sophia. And we took people through these portals to awaken their mystical perception, to support them to listen to direct guidance, to become a clear channel for their own inner truth and their own inner wisdom, so that we can start sharing with more confidence, with more clarity, with more of that kind of unshakable, kind of sovereign discernment about our knowing. So I love sharing the free events like Oracle Office Hours. And this Wednesday, instead of doing my usual divination where I read for other people, I'm like, let's empower everyone else to start really trusting their own channel, their own knowing even more. So go ahead and receive that gift if that resonates for you. Otherwise, sign up on EdenAmadora.com for my free Oracle Office Hours, where I'll be back. Thank you, Susan. I'm glad you were there. And sign up also for the free live spiritual masterclasses like this one today, to be on that list for the next one. And that's in the navigation bar of my website. You'll see free offerings, and you just drop down and click on Oracle Office Hours or the free live spiritual masterclass. Oh, you're showing. Thank you, Scott.
Of course.
Yeah, so over there where it says free offerings, you see the Oracle Office Hours. Oh yeah, it looks like the master class isn't up there now, but if you sign up for Oracle Office Hours, you'll still get the email for the, look at it's doubling. I have to tell my online assistant, we're seeing double vision. So yeah, you can still be on the list for the spiritual master classes if you're on my list. This is a great way to get on the list.
Great. So everybody go to EdenAmadora.com and go to Oracle Office Hours and put in, and no, I'm not a robot. There you go.
Thank you, Scott.
You know, Eden,
I'm hearing a little echo now for some reason. Not sure if you hear one.
I'm not getting the echo on my end.
Oh, good.
Thank you so much. For, you know, when I knew that I wanted to do this, I was like, okay, I need to address things, but I want to do it from the high road. Right away, I was like, God, I hope Eden will do this with me. So,
it's such an important conversation. I was like, how do we create the opportunity to really just go even deeper into that beyond duality, polarity place? And we can feel how everyone was so ready for this conversation, and it was so rich, so alive. Thank you, Katrina.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you to anybody watching the recording. A lot of people are going to watch the replay. Greetings to all of you out in Facebook land. Thank you to the Sign Network for getting us out to so many people. Really grateful for all of that. A couple of quick announcements, and we'll conclude with a song. This Saturday night, it's Mother's Day weekend. And so I thought it would be wonderful to honor our big mama, our Pachamama, Earth Mother Gaia. And we've got some amazing presenters. We've shown the message from the mother, from the Kogi people a few times on this show. The woman you're seeing there, Giati, she is the woman who made that video. She is who works directly with the Kogi people. She's who produced the video and has been getting it out. And she actually reached out to me and said, I'd like to be on your show and give a greater explanation of the story of the video. And she's got some very important information she's going to provide us about, because for people who saw the video, it's intense. The Kogi people are very connected to the earth. They're completely dedicated to being messengers of the earth and speaking for the mother. And that video is intense. It talks about some big ramifications. Anyway, she's going to be on the show. Beloved Louisa Stowe is going to be with us. Louisa Tish is one of our great wise elders. She's kind of like, the Black Jean Houston. She is a well-honored and revered elder. Our beloved Anasuya Hallelujah is going to be with us. Marc and Claire Dubois, who are amazing environmentalists. And for music, of course, we have Omoshar and also Honey of the Heart. And I love Honey of the Heart. I just went to their concert on Sunday here in Nevada City. They're fabulous. They've been on the show before. So it's going to be a powerful show. So please join us this Saturday night, May 11th, as we honor our true mother, Pachamama. And then a reminder that a week from tonight, we've got something very special. It's going to be a full evening with Marianne Williamson. Once again, Eden will be coming on and co-hosting with me. I'm really grateful for that, Eden. And also joining us will be Deborah Giusti and Tangela. So 3 of my favorite co-hosts, 3 of my favorite human beings. And the 4 of us will be asking questions of Marianne and taking your questions. So you want to make sure you are in the Zoom room for this. Now, there will be a separate Zoom room. The one that we normally use for Wednesday night will not work. For all of you who are already registered subscribers, which is everybody in the Zoom room right now, make sure you check your email because I'll be sending you a special link. For those of you watching on Facebook, now is a good time to join the Global Peace Tribe. And we're actually offering a special. So join the Global Peace Tribe now. And for new subscribers, we're giving you a special. Go to globalpeacetribe.com and you can learn all about that. Just click where it says, click for Marianne Williamson. So that's what we've got coming up. Eden will be back with us a week from tonight. And hopefully all of you will be with us for Saturday night, because that's going to be a very powerful show. And
I'm so excited to speak to Marianne again. This is great.
and she's got a lot to say, a lot to share. So it's going to be a very dynamic evening. And thank you, Eden, so much for being my friend, for being a precious, beloved member of our Global Peace Tribe, of our awakening world, the work you're doing with the Divine Feminine and helping, and your Oracle office hours, which are awesome, you guys. Every Wednesday night or Wednesday day, do the Oracle office hours. It's so much fun. And thank you for
I love it when you come, Scott. It always lights me up when I see you there. Like, yay!
It's on my calendar, and I really try and come, but sometimes I've got clients, and but I'll try to be there as much as I can. I love you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, everybody. It was so wonderful to see you all and to be with you again, too. So much love. Only love.
Thanks for all the comments. I'll do my best to read and respond while we listen to our closing song from our beloved brother, Omoshar.
My love is all that there is. Your fear is hurting you so. I know it's all that you feel, and that it's hard to let go, let go, let go, 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 go. Again, that look in your eye. You do not believe in me. You'd rather live in your dreams. I've come to set you free. I am the lover you need. I hold my hand out to you. All I ask is your trust. I love you more than you know, and I love you, 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 I see you longing for home. You need to feel you belong, and that there's purpose to life. Come back home.
One last twinkle for our beloved Omashar and for each other. Ah, what a beautiful global peace tribe we are. Thank you so much, everybody, for being exactly who you are, being with us tonight on this very special evening. Thank you so much. Thank you for your love and your support. May we all take these tools that we're talking about and sharing, and let's share them with others. And please invite people. This Saturday night show is going to be amazing. Next Wednesday night show is going to be amazing. So invite your friends. Let's grow our tribe, because we're a beautiful tribe. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you again, Omashar. Thank you, Eden, who's off having dinner, which is what I'm going to do shortly.
I know, right? Me too.
Take care, everybody. God's blessings. And I hope to see all of you on Saturday night. God
Bye-bye.
bless you. Much love.